Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm a full-time potter based out of Chicago, and this is where I make all of the pots. I'm going to show you around. So let's go. Come over here. Come on. Don't look over here. That's a secret. It's where we keep all of the trash and Kiana's home goods. This shelf holds a bunch of my prints, but it also holds all like miscellaneous art supplies for when I host events and like community meetups and stuff. So we've just got enough paint and palettes and brushes to have a bunch of people in the studio and making stuff. So that's where that all lives. Over here is the cardboard corner. And if you watched my other video on how I package pottery with no plastic, you will have seen this corner. But this is just towers and towers and towers of cardboard. Good shit. I don't actually use this corner very much. This is kind of Kiana's corner. Shout out Kiana. But yeah, this is just where we keep all of the packaging supplies and all the ugly stuff, since these, meaning maybe 8 space heaters. Slay. This keeps like large scale painting supplies from someone I used to share the space with, and I just have them here now. My easel, which I use twice a year. And then if you come along this side, this is where the kiln lives, and it's vented out through the window. And yeah, there's pretty much nothing special about the kiln. I keep all of my kiln posts behind it, and then all of the kiln shelves in a corner on the floor next to it. This is Ruby. Her name is Ruby because she's red and she used to be shiny and she's very expensive. Moving on. In here we have all of the lids for the travel mugs. I just keep them by color so I know how much I have because they're all different sizes, so I have to throw them specifically for the size of the color. It's a whole thing. A massage chair that my little brother got me for Christmas. All of the kiln maintenance tools, so I've got extra elements in here and all of the tools for like editing the wires and stuff like that. This is first aid, which I think has maybe a Band-Aid in it. Nice. And sandpaper. Under here we have, this is the stuff I use to recycle colored clay and bags for local pickups and for fairs. And then under here is all of the glaze. So we've got extra dry glaze and the already made glaze that Kiana made. Second shout out for Kiana. That's it. All right. And then if you come over here, this is where I paint all of the pieces. So I use this banding wheel so that I don't hold each piece because I give myself tendinitis one year by doing that. This cart holds all of my underglazes. I use a mix of them, but I mostly use Amico. So these are just jars of them. And then down here are mixes of colors that I use regularly. So this is all the blueberry and alley colors. And then down here are empties and refills that will move its way back up. This is my jar of brushes that I never, ever, 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 ever wash out. I also will very occasionally use this palette if I'm doing like really intricate details, and I just will spray it with water and it'll rehydrate. We also have our wax over here, just miscellaneous tools. These are old sketchbooks of mine. And then extra brushes. Pottery has so many random tools that you like need for one project one time, and then you have 4,000 tools for the rest of your life, which is cool. Old boards that I use to carry and dry things out on. And then if you look over here, which I hide it with a plant. This is where I keep all of my dried clay scraps, and I will rehydrate them, put them on plaster bats, and then reuse the clay. But I'm really behind on it because I don't think I've told them this. I'm going to be out of town for over 2 months. So I'm not really recycling clay right now because that would make no sense. So anyway, that's a really ugly part of the studio, but also a very necessary part of the studio. This is my bucket of water. Do you like it? So in the studio, while we do have a sink, we don't really use new water at all. And also nothing goes down the drain. So essentially we will use a bunch of water and then we'll put some flocculant in it so that the sediment sinks. Then I'll pour off the clean water and we'll keep using that clean water. And then this is the bucket of sludge and it smells like ass. So it smells so bad. Anyway, we'll pour off the clean water and then we'll put the sludge into this, and then this gets bagged and tossed so that nothing ever goes down the drain ever at all. And sometimes it gets really stinky. Okay, moving this way, this is where I throw everything. This is a speedball wheel. I don't use a crazy fancy wheel. This one just gets the job done. It's not crazy expensive. I think it's about like $1,000. I throw a lot of pieces, but not super heavy pieces, not with like large amounts of clay. So this motor does the trick. And then I have all of my throwing tools over here. This is throwing tools, trimming tools. This is for like handling and hand building. And then I will occasionally use this to make sure all of my mugs are the same height. I usually don't though. This is my first wheel ever that I bought on Facebook Marketplace, and it died like a year ago, and I never got rid of it. So now it just holds all of my bats. I should get rid of it. They don't make the parts for it anymore. It was like a model from like the 80s, so I couldn't repair it. So now it just sits here and holds the bats. But I really should get rid of it and just make a nice little stand for these, but I won't. This is our calendar that we really keep up to date. Shut up. Food, that's it. And then we are on to our shelves. So this shelf holds all of my greenware, which is stuff that has not been through any kiln yet. So this can all be painted whatever I want. A lot of it right now just has like stuff I haven't gotten around to and maybe never will get around to. And then over this shelf is often stuff that is done being glazed and ready to go to the kiln. But right now it's all finished pieces mostly. This is all stuff that is headed to the drop. And then this shelf over here is usually full of like just pieces that aren't quite right. Like this one, I didn't use the right colors on. This one's chipped. So during the holidays, these are all full of finished pots or in progress pots. But right now they are mostly just, they're pretty empty right now. So we're gonna have to work on that. Over here is my hoard of plastic. If you're a potter, you know plastic is like golden in the studio. So I just have piles of it of different weights. So that I always have plastic that I need to keep my pieces dry so that they don't dry out too quickly and crack, or so that I can't carve them. More clay to be recycled. It haunts me. And then over there is where I keep smaller buckets so that I can make my dyed clay for my Narikomi work. Oh, and then down here, they're empty right now, but they're usually full. I made damp boxes. So essentially it's just a plastic bin and you pour some pottery plaster in the bottom and let it harden. I'll soak this in water just so that it's moist, and then just so that it's moist and keeps all of your pots damp that you put in here. This is great for if you throw a bunch of mug bodies and you don't want to handle them yet, you can just throw them in here and they will stay wet enough for you to attach handles to. This is a baker's rack that I will use to keep pieces like semi-damp. It dries them like slow-ish, but not as slow as the damp boxes. So I'll just like wrap them in plastic and put them on some of these metal trays, and then this zips up and it will keep it pretty damp, which is good. This has a bunch of jars in it and Cheetos that Kiana brought today. The baked ones, not regular Cheetos. Cheetos, yes. And that's it. A bunch of test tiles for colors of clay that used to be all nice and organized, but now they are just in a pile. Fuck. This is usually where the clay is. I usually have like 40 boxes of clay you can see on the ground. I have 3 right now because, again, I'm going out of town, so it doesn't make sense to get a bunch of new clay to just sit there and get hard. We're just using up the last bits of clay that I have before I go. And then you come over here. Behind this plant is a bunch of random tools that I don't use often, but I use enough, and our respirator for when we're making glaze and using mason stains. More test tiles, brushes. A lot of this is like glaze making and glazing stuff. Third shout out to Kiana. Heyo. And then over here is where I keep a bunch of mason stains, which I don't use very often. I will make them in big batches, so I don't need to get to them very often. So they just sit in a stack back there. And then this is a guitar my dad got me for Christmas when I was 14, and I still don't know how to play. Stools for when I host meetups and workshops and like random community sketchbook nights and stuff. A plant that's slowly working its way back from me neglecting it. And then my air purifier, which my girlfriend made me get. I think that's it. Also, I made all of these tables because I got a degree in theater. All right, that is it. That is my whole studio. It's where I make all of my pottery, and it's also where I host community sketchbook nights, and I have some other friends who come in here to do their own art here too. But mostly, this is where all of my pots are made, and I've never shown the internet my whole studio, so feeling kind of naked. And I hope you like it. And if you do, you should like the video and subscribe. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. Anyway, thank you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Thanks for filming.
Time.
Incredible.
You know.